So, Predator Badlands is the latest Predator film from director Dan Trachtenberg, who previously did Prey and Predator Killer of Killers, so the past two Predator films, which have actually been really good. I've been loving what Dan has been doing with the material here. This is a very refreshing film that takes the Predator and the Alien franchise and mostly just makes it like an adventure film out of it. Now, initially, I think that might that might turn some people off. They're like, "Wait a minute, hang on." So we're gonna have a PG-13 adventure film with Predator. And are they gonna have humor in it? It's like, yes, they are gonna have humor in it. They are gonna have a traveling buddy dynamic to it. And I know that might turn off a lot of people from the start, but you know what? Trachtenberg takes this material and he runs with it. He makes it work. He adheres to like a lot of the Predator and Alien lore with with Weyland Yutani and like the Predator race. He takes all those elements and he kind of makes a very exciting a character-driven adventure out of it. And I get the feeling for a lot of people, oh man, this ain't gonna work because the Predator franchise, it's tried humor before. It's tried to do, like with 2018's Predator, they tried to make it have very ridiculous, absurd comedy to it, and it didn't quite work. They've tried to be very fan servicey with stuff like Alien versus Predator, and that really didn't work either. But you know what? Badlands actually works at injecting a little bit of humor into Predator, and I think because like that levity is necessary just to make you care about these characters, because like as you might have heard, this is a film where the protagonist is a young predator hunter. In this case, the predator is named Dek, and he's played by Demetrius Schuster Kolomantanagi, and he's basically the runt of his predator family. He's basically viewed as someone who's not strong enough to be one of their brutal hunters who goes across the galaxy and hunts big game. So he feels like he has to prove himself to his father, and the only way to do that is to go to this death planet where he has to track down the most dangerous being in the universe. Now, what I love so much about the planet that he goes to is that it's called Death Planet for a reason, because everything there is trying to kill him. There's giant vines that are trying to eat him. There's weird organisms coming out of cliffs. There's monsters hanging out in the tree that just look like they're walking jaws. There's grass there that can cut your skin. There's exploding plants that shoot thorns. It's just all these wonderfully bizarre and just violent creatures on this planet that I absolutely loved. And I think this is what made me love the film almost instantly in that moment, because it had this wild imagination to it that felt like, because I was big into Predator as a kid, as well as Alien, because there were Predator and Alien toys back then. And I loved how, you could kind of you'd take those toys, you kind of form your own worlds from them, and kind of just everything would mash together and you'd come up with your own stories from there. So Badlands, when it starts introducing the character of Thea, who is a Weyland Yutani synthetic played by Elle Fanning, and she's basically, she's bifurcated, so she's only half there. But she forms like an alliance with Dek because, she's a little bit eccentric, and she realizes that, oh, okay, I got a mission here, you got a mission here. Why don't we try to help each other out? And they kind of have this neat little dynamic between them. And I thought, okay, yeah, this sounds like something I would do when I was a kid. I would make like a little story like this, like, oh, these two characters would get together and they'd go on an adventure and they'd fight all these monsters. But it feels, like I said, it feels like a fan fiction, but a fan fiction that, you went back to when you were older, you dusted it off, you made some edits here and there, you injected more of a thematic core and connected it more to all the Predator and Alien lore, and then it kind of becomes something wonderful at that point. It becomes a film less about, whether or not Dek can kill the giant beast, and more about whether or not, Dek and Thea can prove themselves and fight back against those who only view them as essential for one aspect. So it's very much a chosen family angle. Deck realizing that, he's never going to be accepted by his tribe, and Thea realizing that she's only a product and that she's never going to be seen by Weyland-Yutani as anything more than that, and any sensation of a family through another synthetic, a Tessa, also played by Fanning, is just not in the cards. So the two got to realize that, they need each other, and they're very reluctant to it because they're mostly just focused on their job, and that tears them apart, so it creates this great drama between them. But then there's also the like the other character they encounter on this planet, which is a cute little creature that they dub Bud. And Bud kind of looks like this very like big-eyed, weird-looking alien that's meant to be cute, even though he's very dangerous and can rip out spines. Now, I know, like, once that character shows up, a lot of people might check out of the film. They might be like, okay, they're trying to put this cute little alien creature in here, and you're supposed to feel for him. But you know what? I did feel for him. I felt bad for him. I was kind of rooting for him towards the climax. And you know what? This is on a planet filled with a lot of ugly, ugly creatures. There are tons and tons of these creatures that just don't even have eyeballs. They're just like walking teeth that want to chow down on everything, every part of your being, including the bones. So the fact that there is this one creature on this planet that actually looks pretty adorable, I think it's a good change of pace. And the fact that it's a little bit of like a messy and rude type of alien that has an adorable nature to it, I think just makes for a great dynamic of stressing this kind of like child that Thea and Deck can raise together. Which it sounds corny, but within like the context of the film, it works out pretty well. And I think that's mostly because Trachtenberg makes you care about these characters, but also makes the planet very dangerous and establish the stakes here. And it's very tightly edited. I was surprised like how quickly it darted between all these different detours of the trip, and how Deck was like just kind of like casually learning about all these different animals trying to kill him. Some that can like stab him, some that can poison him, some that can just like, they're very tiny but can explode if you touch them. So I love that. I love how quickly the story goes here, and how it makes you care for these characters without a lot of downtime for like, bringing up more of like the melodrama. It's just like, okay, here's the dramatic sequence, and then we'll get back to to Deck murdering all these different aliens on this planet, and brutalizing synthetics when Weyland-Yutani gets more involved. All that stuff I expected, and it's still pretty fun. But the fact that I cared about these characters, which is the most important point. If you're going to make your main characters a predator hunter and a Weyland-Yutani android, there has to be a reason to care for these characters. Because a lot of the times, these characters are mostly just like vessels. They're meant to just be mindless tools for violence. Like, they're an antagonist to beat. They're, someone who's being manipulated to kill. And here, like, these are characters who have been discarded, and they feel bad, and they, realize they're abandoned, and they have to find their own way to fight back. And you start rooting for them. You want to root for this Predator character and this synthetic. I guess it's a little easier for the synthetics. We've had enough alien films where you kind of do care for some of the androids here, but you really do care for Thea just because she's a little bit more innocent and a little bit more naive, which kind of explains how she's the runt of the Weyland-Yutani batch here. But yeah, very violent in a lot of the scenes, which is surprising for a PG-13 film. I was actually surprised. I went into this film thinking, okay, this is probably R, isn't it? I didn't even look at the MPAA rating. And I came out, I was like, oh, wow, it's PG-13? Well, I guess it could. And I think that's because they kind of adhere to the Samurai Jack school of violence. Where if you're not doing just like, humans getting gutted with blood and guts, it's okay to murder them and rip them apart and gore them to shreds, which Trachtenberg does here. It's fun to watch all that brutal carnage happen, especially with Bud ripping out their spines and being all giddy about it, and half of Thea walking around, both halves of Thea walking around trying to kill all the different synthetics here. Which it really did surprise me that this was PG-13. But I gotta say, as long as it's not blood, and I mean, there are no human characters in this plot, so sure, just brutalize them up and just have as much fun with it as you can, which is great. I love how much how violent and ridiculous this film gets at times, while still making you care about these characters. So yeah, for a Predator film where you're rooting for the Predator and the android, it was a lot of fun. This is. It sounds weird to say it, a Predator film where you're having fun with it, and enjoying kind of like the levity and the comedy of it all, especially for like framing it as an adventure film. But hey, for Trachtenberg taking a big swing of trying to make a Predator into a sci-fi adventure film with a Predator character you care about, I think he hit it out of the park. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with Predator Badlands.